The Kia Niro is a capable crossover. You're going to find it as a traditional hybrid, as a plug-in hybrid, or as an available electric. This one is the plug-in hybrid, and if you're looking for a walkthrough on the EV specifically, you'll find that down in the description, along with the contact details to Durham Kia, who were nice enough to lend this to me for the afternoon to shoot the video for you today. This one is in the snow white pearl exterior, and with all of the black highlights, it does look fairly sharp. You're only going to find the Kia Niro front-wheel drive regardless of the version of the vehicle that you're in. So the hybrid, the plug-in hybrid, and the electric are front-wheel drive, which not necessarily a bad thing. So I'm up in Canada, and you're fine with driving front-wheel drive in the wintertime. Just throw on a good set of winter tires and you'll be okay. There are a series of different wheel sizes and styles available inside of the Niro. Inside of majority of trim levels, you're looking at a 16-inch wheel with the option of an upgraded 18-inch when you get into the SX trim level of the ride. There are 3 different versions of the Niro available. The traditional hybrid doesn't have a way to plug in. You just get better overall fuel economy. The plug-in hybrid version, you're charging up along the outside here, and it's got support for level 1 or for level 2 charging, and it does come with a 20-foot charge cable from the factory with level 1 support. Charge times in the vehicle are going to depend on how you have it set up, so either level 1 versus level 2, but realistically, charging up a small battery like this, you're only looking at a couple hours at the very most, especially if you're looking at a level 2 option. The overall range that you get, 55 kilometers fully electric maximum, or about 34-ish mile range. But that depends on your driving habits too. Because if you're the type of person where you gun it, you're gonna use up that electric battery a little bit more. On top of that, in wintertime, your range is going to be negatively impacted. So it's the same way with regular gas engines too, so you will notice that whether it's the plug-in hybrid or the electric version. The electric is going to take about a 20% haircut to the overall range, and it'll also take about 20% longer to charge up. But I do like the plug-in hybrid for a majority of different cars because you've got fully electric driving available. So if you're only driving short distances, it's kind of ideal. And then you've got that gas engine as a backup. The front end style of the Niro is nice and simple. It reminds me of a lot of other vehicles in the Kia lineup, like the Seltos. You're going to find halogen headlights inside of some versions of the Niro, and then LED inside of other trim levels. Your running lamps are going to be LED, and then there are halogen options, like I said, in the lower trims. Inside of the SX version of the ride, that's going to be LEDs with LED fog lamps on top of that, but the majority of trim levels won't have fog lamps, and there's not much technology-wise in the front end of most versions of the Niro. You're going to find the option for the forward park sensing system in that higher trim, but there's some great safety technology that you're going to find inside of this ride. So things like smart cruise control, highway drive assist features, and things like that. Underneath the hood of the Kia Niro, there are 3 different powertrains that are available. So there's a 1.6 liter engine inside of the traditional hybrid and the plug-in hybrid, and then you've got the electric version. Power-wise, the plug-in hybrid is going to give you more combined horsepower and torque compared to the traditional hybrid. This one pushes out a combined 180 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. So while it's not the most powerful engine, 195 pound-feet of torque I think is still good enough for the majority of people. Underneath the hood here is nice and simple. I like the way that Kia's done the design here for the engine cover. You can see all of the hybrid wires off to the right side, those bright orange ones. And then if you're doing some work yourself, you can easily top up your fluids along the left, so check change oil, and then top up that wiper fluid too. And then looking at the warranty inside of the Kia world, in Canada, basic and powertrain are going to be 5-year, 100,000 kilometer. Down in the States, the basic is going to be a 5-year, 60,000 mile, with the powertrain getting bumped up to 10-year, 100,000 mile. I'd love to see a 10-year, 100,000 in Canada, but at the same time, you can always increase your warranty at time of purchase if you need that extra peace of mind. But just take care of your ride. Regular oil changes. It like blows my mind how many people don't do regular maintenance, and you wonder why your car dies on you. Take care of it. Regular oil changes, regularly scheduled maintenance. I've seen Kias easily pass over 300, 400, 500,000 kilometers, so a few 100,000 miles, but it does hinge on you taking care of your ride. But getting inside of the ride, first row, plenty spacious. Second row. Whew. Equally as easy, spacious as well. I'll show you the spacing in just a second. But one nice thing, you are going to find assist handles across all 4 doors inside of this ride. The side view mirrors inside of the Niro are manual folding. Some versions of the ride are also going to have turn signals built in. And then they're also going to be heated with a blind spot monitoring system. So if somebody enters the blind spot on either side, it's going to highlight right there in order to let you know. There's also some intelligent access. So as long as you've got the fob on you, you can push there to lock the door or push again in order to unlock. Get inside in a second there, but the buttons here are going to be the same across the lineup. So you've got your side view mirror controls, locks, window controls, kill off power to the rear windows with some door storage. There are 2 different speaker choices available inside of this ride. Most trim levels are going to have a 6-speaker system, but there is the option for an 8-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. On top of that, a few different seating choices available with the option for either a manual or power driver seat, depending on the model of the vehicle that you're in. Then, space-wise, inside of this ride. So hold on, with the, there we go, driver's seat as far down as it's gonna go. Up overhead, I've got like 4 inches of head space. There's a solid amount of space inside of this ride, and the seat is fairly comfortable too. Nice. From a material perspective, it's either going to be cloth seats. There's going to be the option for what's inside of this one. So it's like a cloth synthetic leather mix. And then there's a full synthetic leather seat, just depending on which trim level of the ride that you're in. But still, across the board, that's comfy. Looking at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Kia Niro. The Niro does have 2 different versions of the cluster available and 2 different versions of the infotainment system. But let's dive in. I'll show you everything you need to know. First thing is that the steering wheel inside of the ride might be heated depending on whether you're in Canada, the States, and which trim level you're in. So down by your right knee, there's a button there you're going to push for a single level for the heat, and it's heated all the way around. The steering wheel across the Niro lineup is also going to be manual telescoping. So by your left knee, there's a release. You're going to go in, out, up and down to find that perfect position for you. Once you find it, click it in order to lock it back into place. Down by your left knee, you've got a series of other options here too. So you can increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen. You can open and close the trunk. Since this is the hybrid, you're using that in order to open up the fuel door. You could turn charging off, and then you can also toggle your traction control system on or off. The only time you want to use this is if you're getting wheel slippage, you can't pick up traction, toggle that off from there. And there are so many different buttons in stock. So let's start off with the left-hand side. So you've got your different light modes that are available. You're going to be in the auto mode the majority of the time. And when you're in the auto mode, inside of the infotainment system, you can toggle on an auto high beam mode. And what that means is that if the vehicle recognizes high beams are needed, it's going to turn them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it turns them off before turning them right back on again. If you wanted to permanently lock your high beams out though, you're going to go into your upper headlamp mode. Push away to turn them on, pull towards you in order to turn them off. It's just that in the auto mode, you can flash them no problem. It's just that you can't permanently lock them out here. Stick along the right-hand side is going to be for your wipers. If you go up a level, that's going to be a single wipe. If you drop down a level, that puts you into the intermittent mode. So you could then use the rocker in the middle of the switch there in order to be able to say how fast or slow it's hitting into one of the crazy modes. You've also got a button on the tip of the right stick to turn on your rear wiper. You're going to pull towards you in order to get the front wiper fluid going. You're going to push away in order to get the rear wiper fluid going. The car also has paddle shifters. But if you want to walk through on how paddles actually work, check down in the description of this video. And you've also got this little drive mode selector. So tapping that is going to let you change between either an eco or a sport mode. Eco mode is going to give you the best possible economy. Sport is the best possible performance. And you've got the flexibility of adjusting that screen out a tiny little bit. Inside of the infotainment system, if you go into your setup, you can get to this for a few different ways, but if you go setup, vehicle, cluster, You could adjust brightness a few different ways there, but you've got a few different theme selections. So using the button along the bottom there, so you've got your drive mode selector. As you move between sport versus eco mode, you can change it up. But let's say if you love the economy that you get in the eco mode, but you love the look of the sport mode, you could lock it out. So as a default, it's linked to whatever drive mode that you're in. But if you like a different style, you've got the flexibility of being able to permanently lock it out. So if you love the economy that you get in the eco mode, but love the look of the sport mode, you can easily adjust it out this way. You can say whether or not you get an icy road warning. When you turn the car on, you get a welcome sound. And then your tachometer, you've got a few different display options that are available there too. I do love the look of that sport mode though. Oh, I like it. And then you've got your cruise control buttons along the left-hand side with some different options along the right. So the buttons along the right here, you've got a voice command prompt where you'll be able to do things like change stations. If you had navigation, you could navigate using your voice, things like that. If you were hooked up over Android or iPhone devices, you do a long push and hold. That is going to activate either your Siri or your Google Assistant. It's just that when no phone's connected, it's going to be for the factory assistant. You can answer or hang up on a phone call, and then you've got your volume rocker there, so you can adjust your volume, push into mute. Along the right-hand side there, you've also got the option of adjusting your volume this way, and then you've got a switch to go up and down. So if you've got presets set up, you can move between your presets. You could also push and hold up and push and hold down if you wanted it to act as a seek button. It's probably the last thing you want to do because it's really quick. You got to be quick on the draw. So your best bet is using your voice or just setting up your presets, going up and down. There are two unique buttons here which you can adjust through the infotainment system. If you go into your buttons there, you've got a few different custom buttons. So there's one down here, that's your top custom, and then you've got your two other buttons. So what do you want this one to do? You can have it go home, go to your map, different options there. And then your mode button along the very top, you can have that set up for different things. So jumping between all of your available sources. So if you tend to listen to sounds of nature, FM, etc., you just select whichever ones you'd like to. And then when you push the mode button, that's going to move you between all of the available sources that you've got selected there. And then along the left-hand side, so you've got adaptive cruise or smart cruise control inside of the majority of the vehicles in the Kia lineup. So it's strictly going to be adaptive. So let's say if you set it at 80, car in front of you slows down, yours is going to brake automatically. They change lanes, you change lanes, it's going to pick you back up to your previously set speed. So there's no traditional or old school cruise control available, strictly that adaptive. But you toggle it on this way. Once it's on, it sets it at whatever your current speed is. You could increase or decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time by going up and down, push and hold up or push and hold down to bring you to the nearest 0 kilometers an hour, or up and down 6 miles per hour at a time. You can hit the brake to cancel your speed. You can push in the middle there to cancel your speed, and then push again to resume your previously set speed. There's also a distance indicator, so it's how close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you. There are a few unique levels. I am personally okay with level 1 in most situations. You might want to be on 2 or 3, just depending on your comfort level. And then there's also the lane follow assist. So there's a lane keep and a lane follow assist. Lane keep assist, if you start to veer over into another lane without signaling, nudges you back into your lane. The lane follow assist, it's not self-driving, but as long as the vehicle recognizes the lane markings, it keeps you perfectly balanced in your lane. When you have the smart cruise control system toggled on with this one, it gets really dang close. Now, that doesn't mean that you can just take your hands off the wheel and not pay attention, so you do have to continue to pay attention. Once you actively use the system and really realize how it works or understand how it works, it's a phenomenal system. But if you want a live demonstration of actually using the system and understanding it, you'll find that down in the description of this video. And then there are also different buttons here in order to navigate through the cluster screen. You've got the auto hold settings, so whether or not that one's enabled, yay, nay, your parking brake, outside temperature, along with your current fuel economy, what drive mode you're in, so whether that's the eco versus the sport mode with slightly different looks there, and then your current odometer. Along the very top, you've got what gear you're currently in, so park, reverse, neutral, drive, etc. Whether or not you've got different safety settings enabled, etc. along the right-hand side, and then if you're in the fully electric drive mode, if that's available. This, I want you to think of almost like a traditional tachometer to a degree. So you put your foot down, and this is going to go up, almost like your traditional tachometer would do. And then from a charging perspective, so whether you're in the hybrid, the plug-in, etc., when you go to brake, this gauge will drop down. And what it's doing is trying to recapture that charge, because the plug-in can actually charge up technically 3 different ways. So as you drive, it can charge up. It can charge up through regenerative braking and then just plugging in on top of that. So it's kind of neat the way that that looks, but I mean, that's kind of neat. And then you've got your battery along the bottom, and then you've got a series of individual pages there, which are all done and move through using the buttons along the steering wheel there. So left pad, top right side. So you can move between the 4 available options. You need to be driving in order to show your tire pressure. You can see your engine temperature. You've got your basic drive mode screen, your range, your driving info. So how long have you been going for? What fuel economy have you gotten since refueling? Your total accumulated info. And then you've got idle mode and then your vehicle speed. So where these ones come into play, your since refueling. So what fuel economy have you gotten since you fueled the vehicle up? What's your total accumulated info? And you can see that on the bottom there too. So right in the middle, you can see it denotes that we're at 14.2 liters per 100. So if you push and hold the button there, that acts as an OK button. So scroll down, push and hold OK. And then you can see there, it just zeroes it out again. Pushing one more time is going to give you a basic compass view. If you've got factory navigation inside of your ride with an active route going, it would show turn-by-turn directions there. But outside of that, it's strictly going to be a compass, and that's strictly factory navigation to show turn-by-turn directions. This is the infotainment system that you're going to find inside of the majority of trim levels of the Kia Niro. There are technically 3 different variations available. There's a smaller 8-inch screen, which is only in the lowest trims. But outside of that, it's the 10.25-inch that you're looking at here. But 2 different versions of this. One has factory navigation and one doesn't have factory navigation. But if you want to walk through on the smaller screen, if it's available, you'll find that down in the description of this video. But let's go line by line and I'll show you everything that you need to know. First thing, you've got your basic home screen there. Swiping across brings you up to this screen. You've got this button, which is going to let you change different user profiles. So if you've got multiple people driving, you've got the flexibility of easily changing it out to one of 3 different options. So either driver 1, driver 2, or a guest profile. The guest profile has some limitations compared to driver 1 versus driver 2. Pushing that again, you can then edit some settings for the driver profile. You can change up the name, profile image, and things like that. The big benefit of setting up profiles is that if you've got navigation and you've saved addresses, or if you've got a phone hooked up, if you've saved in presets and things like that, it would remember based off of your profile. You can tap home to get back to this screen, swipe across, tap here to turn the display off, button push to bring it back again, or you can also edit the home icons. But you can also do that, push and hold till you hit this screen, push and hold again, and then you can customize the order of the icons if you'd like to. You can reset it back to the default or just back again. You've got your current time along the top, so you can tap it to adjust that out, and then whether or not you've got your Kia connection going. Since this is the plug-in hybrid, you've got this PHEV button. If you were in the regular hybrid, that wouldn't be available. And then the electric is going to have some additional options too. So starting off, you've got your total EV range. So as of right now, this isn't charged up whatsoever. So I'm getting nowhere on fully electric driving. But that's the benefit of the plug-in. And the way that the hybrid system works is it goes on the fly. So the vehicle figures out if you're in the gas or the electric mode as you go. You've got charging options here too. Just click here, and that's going to give you the flexibility of setting individual departure times. So let's say if you have a tendency to leave the same time, Monday to Friday, you've got the flexibility of setting that up. So you can toggle the departure times on, off this way. And then you can also schedule charging now because you've got your departure set up. So let's say if you have a tendency, or maybe you want cheap electricity rates, and you know that your cheap electricity rates are going to be between 8 o'clock p.m., 7 o'clock a.m., you can do that. You can have it prioritize off-peak. You can only charge during off-peak, or you can set your own custom hours this way. After you do that, that's going to save in, so it's only going to charge up during those times. Though it's a matter of preference which way you go. You can easily toggle your schedule of charging off this way, or push back inside if you wanted to zero it out again. Your charging limit's available there too. So where this one comes into play, so whether it's the plug-in hybrid or the electric, if you've plugged into a charge station, whether that's at home or on the road, typically you'll run into issues on the road. If you've plugged in and it's not charging, there's something going on with the charging rate. So all you're going to do is lower this in order to be able to get it to work. So you should be okay with 100% the majority of the time, but if you've plugged in and it's not charging, try either 90 or 60. It won't charge up as fast, but this is pretty much guaranteed to charge at that point. Now you can see there, we've got the gas engine going, trying to charge up the battery here. You've got eco driving information available too, or you can reset it, I should say, if you like. But that's using the hybrid settings. It's pretty simple. If yours has factory navigation, you're good to go here. If it doesn't have factory nav, you can hook up over iPhones if you'd like to, so either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, which I'll touch on as we go. You've got your basic split screen. You can tap there in order to go full screen map. Now, with the map side of things, you could do a pinch to zoom, but you can see here we've now got an end destination. So once you start moving the map, you can see there, you can then set a destination if you'd like to. So if you wanted to go there, you could route out, you could save the location, see what's available, or you can tap this in order to center it back onto yourself. You can tap this in order to be able to change up your heading. You can adjust your guidance volume. So if you wanted to have no voice a little bit louder, you can adjust the sound effects and the navigation priority. So if you're coming to an upcoming turn and you've got the radio cranked, it's going to lower that radio volume so you can hear what's going on. You've got some navigation options. You can search for addresses here. You can see nearby point of interest icons, previous destinations. So if you search for options, you can easily delete if you'd like to. So mark and delete. Pretty good from a safety perspective to do that. You've got saved places, so if you have a tendency to go to different spots frequently, it's going to save it there and along the bottom of the screen. If you've got a route going, you can cancel, you can edit, look at route options. So if you wanted to avoid highways, toll roads, ferries, you could do that. But that's using factory nav. It's a pretty simple system. Oh, let's go ahead and add in a phone.
Turn Bluetooth on from your device in order to search. On your device, select the name that matches vehicle name on the screen.
Just looking for Niro PHEV or whatever the vehicle name is. PIN numbers match up, so let's go ahead and pair. There we go. Do you want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm definitely saying no to that one. And I'm fully connected right now over Bluetooth, so I'd be able to stream audio, and then I could also...
Contacts download was unsuccessful. Check the mobile phone status.
So that says that just because I said no when I went to go connect. And I'm fully connected now, so I'd be able to make phone calls and I can stream audio this way. So I'm connected over Bluetooth. But you do have support for Apple CarPlay, and you're using a USB Type A. So if you're on a newer iPhone that doesn't have Lightning, you just have to get a USB-A adapter. It has to show the data transfer icon too, because there's data transfer and then strictly going to be a charging cable. All you're going to do, plug yourself in down the middle there, and give that a second. Do you want to use CarPlay while the phone is locked? Yes, you want to do that. And okay there. And let's tap in to get into CarPlay. Now, if you can't even get to this step because CarPlay is not working for you whatsoever, check down in the description of this video. I've put together a little walkthrough that explains some common CarPlay issues and fixes that you can try. But inside of CarPlay, you've got your current time and your connection level. You've got a few miscellaneous apps. So this is the one that was last opened for your maps, for audio and miscellaneous. You can tap there to get back to this little icon view, or tap again to get to this view. So this home screen is kind of customizable. You'll always have whatever map was last opened. This is going to be the search box, whatever audio was last listened to. And then if you've got a calendar notification coming up today that hasn't passed, that would show up. If there's no calendar notification coming up, the search box and your audio box would be stretched along the top. But outside of that, no customization options available. But you've got so many apps. You've got Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze that are all available. There's no pinch to zoom capabilities available inside of Waze, but it's my favorite map application to use because if there are speed traps, if there are hazards, things like that, people are pretty good at marking that off. You can mark that off yourself if you'd like to. You can listen to YouTube music, but there's no YouTube video playback support inside of CarPlay. But you've got YouTube music, Live One's a radio app, Hoopla is a library app, you've got podcasts that are available too, so it's a fairly comprehensive system. You could hit this little settings icon if you wanted to show driving focus, so just focus on driving, mute notifications. If you like a different wallpaper, so maybe something speaks to you differently, you want something a little bit more funky, you've got the flexibility of adjusting that out if you'd like to. On the steering wheel, there's a voice command prompt. So if you do a light button push, that's going to be the assistant for the vehicle. But if you take that button, you do a long push and hold, that is going to bring up your Siri assistant. So short button push is the assistant for the vehicle. Long one is going to be for your phone assistant. Then you also got the flexibility of customizing these icons a tiny little bit. So inside of your phone settings, you're going to go to General and then CarPlay. Just find your vehicle. You can customize it or forget it, but we want to customize the option here. So if you want your podcast along the top, whatever your favorite map application is on top of that, you do a drag and drop in order to adjust. So it adjusts it on the fly. Anything with a minus next to it, you can remove it from the screen if you'd like to. You can save it along, well, it saves along the bottom, but you can easily customize this tray if you'd like to. But if you've played around with the layout too much and you don't like what you've done, on your phone top right side, there's something that says reset. So you're just going to reset, and that's just going to bring you back to the factory default layout there. Pretty simple. If you tap here, you can then push the Kia button there in order to hop back home. If you wanted to listen to your radio while also going through either Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze, all you're going to do, hop back home. You're going to go into your radio. Just find whatever station you want to listen to. So AM, FM, SiriusXM available, play that station, hop back into CarPlay or Android Auto, and it's going to play. Back home again from there. And then underneath the screen, you've also got a series of different buttons. So we're on climate control options here. But if you take that and tap here, you've got a series of other buttons. So if you wanted to get out of the CarPlay screen, you could just push one of these other buttons. So if you wanted to button press in order to get to your radio, media, setup, things like that, you've got that flexibility. But that's how you set up Apple devices inside of this ride. When you disconnect, that's going to disconnect CarPlay. So yeah, you'll see there, media off. And if we hop into device connections now, device connections, you can see that I'm currently connected to the iPhone for both phone calls and for media. But that's how you set up iPhones inside of the Kia Niro. Setting up Android devices is pretty simple. So if you weren't on this device connection screen, if you're back home, you're just going to tap on your setup, device connections there, and then device connections, add new.
Turn Bluetooth on from your device in order to search. On your device, select the name that matches
You've got
vehicle name
Niro,
on the
PHEV,
screen.
or whatever the name of your vehicle is. PIN numbers match up, so let's go ahead and pair. I'm connected right now for the Galaxy for audio. So you could hook up either way if you'd like to there, but I'm now connected over Bluetooth, and you can stop here. So you can now make phone calls and listen to audio with this as your new favorited device. And you've also got support for Android Auto. So it is based off of USB. So you just want to make sure you're using a USB Type A device. Just plugging yourself in down the center there, opposite end of the cable, plugging yourself in, and it should take a second here. Look at that. Android Auto would like too. So let's just tap next. Oh, there we go. Oh, and look at that. We are fully connected to Android Auto now, so nice and simple. And you've got your little Android Auto split screen, but you've got your current time, connection, and battery level, some miscellaneous apps along the side. You can tap there in order to get to your Google Assistant, or you can do a long push and hold on the steering wheel button in order to bring up your assistant that way. You've got Google Maps here, and if you tap the map icon, that's going to let you go into a full screen. So if you prefer full screen, that's available. You've got full pinch to zoom capability on the Android Auto side of things. You can tap this to get back to your little split screen. You can tap again in order to get to this little icon view. So this Android does have Waze installed, but if Waze is not showing up in your Android, check down in the description of this video for a little walkthrough on how you can add it in. But it's simple here. Pushing this and back again to your icon view, and you can customize the layout of these icons if you'd like to. On your Android device, you're just going to search for Android Auto, go to Android Auto settings, and that gives you a boatload of options, but we're looking for Customize Launcher. So just hop inside. You could do a push and hold in order to drag these to whatever location you'd like to. And then from there, you can deselect things. So anything with a check mark next to it, you can get rid of. In order for these changes to come into effect, what you're going to do, unplug the device in order to disconnect from Android Auto. You're going to plug back in again, and we'll give that a second once Android Auto launches. Back to our icons. You can see there, the changes that we've made have come into effect. So it's not dynamic the same way it is on the iPhone side, but you can at least adjust these out if you'd like to. Hopping back into your setup, device connections, you've got both phones that have been connected. So if we disconnect from the Android again, so you can either be hooked up to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, not both, but you can do a mix and match of these other options. You could tap delete devices, mark all, delete, and yes. And look at that, both phones are now disconnected, and it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of the Niro. And if we go back a level, Bluetooth prompts are available, so you can play pause. There's nothing exciting, but you can go Bluetooth system information, where you can change your vehicle name. So if you don't want it to be Niro PHEV or your vehicle name, you can adjust it out there, and you can also password protect if you'd like. There are some projection settings available where you could use a split screen for Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. I don't think the screen is big enough to justify it, but if you want that split screen, that is available there as an option. Phone projection would be Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. There's nothing connected, which is why nothing's showing there. Voice memos are available here too, so you can record memos directly to the vehicle. There are some climate control settings here, so you'll find the majority of them under the screen once you tap this button. So you can see there, you can easily adjust it out. So dual zone climate control, front rear defrosters, you can adjust your fan speed, auto modes, and things like that. It's simple, but you can also adjust things out right inside of the infotainment. And as you adjust it, it adjusts everything. It's pretty simple. Wanting to go into windshield face feet, some sort of Frankenstein combination. All of these options, your climate settings, I recommend keeping those enabled. So auto defog, defrost, things like that. If you tap here, you can get to some additional climate settings too. So recirculate air, automatic defog, defrost, which are all of the same options there. Valet mode is available. You need your Kia Connect services on your phone set up there. Quiet mode is here, which is going to play audio strictly through the front speakers. There's HD radio data, so some radio stations do broadcast digitally, and there's different information that's available there. And you've got radio. And radio gives you the option for either FM, AM, or SiriusXM, so you've got all three options available there. And you can easily add in presets. So all you're going to do, tune to whatever station you'd like to this way, and then just tap add station. That's saved in that preset. If you tap station list, you can see all of the available stations that are available. So it's going to take a second to populate. There we go. And if you wanted to go through and save all of your favorite stations, like all of your favorite stations, you can just go ahead and tap there. So now when you hit presets, you've got your presets there. You can reorder them. So if you wanted to change the order, you can drag and drop that way. If you're on AM or SiriusXM, same idea. So let's just tap a few of these ones. We've got live recording available too. But if we go back to presets, you can see there a mix of AM, FM, and SiriusXM. You can delete. So you can select whichever ones you'd like to at that point, and then just delete and yes. And that easily deletes the presets. Tapping back home, if we go to FM for a second and tap here, you can toggle the display off. You can enter a station if you'd like to. So if you wanted to enter a station that way, you could. You can also adjust your volume down the middle there once you've got that selected, because we can move between either volume or climate settings there. So you can see there, basic home menu versus your climate settings. So as long as you're here, you can adjust your volume that way. You can push in order to turn the screen there into a home screen, or push and hold in order to be able to toggle it off. Setups there, we'll touch on that one last. And then there's media. So media, you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM, USB music, strictly for audio. Sounds of nature are available there too. So if you wanted more relaxing, calming sounds, you've got that available as an option. And then underneath the screen, you've got all of these buttons. But if you were to tap either media or radio, you can jump between all of your available sources there too. Here you've got Kia Connect, notification, and then your user manual. So with your user manual, all you're going to do is take your phone, camera, and then just going to scan, and that is going to launch you in to the digital owner's manual. So if this video didn't help out, you'd be able to find everything else that you need inside of this ride. Which leaves us with available setup, and there are so many different options available. Starting off, you can search for any available setting. So if you knew which one you were looking for, you could search for that setting individually. You can toggle the display off, back on again, and then let's hop into vehicle settings. So you can get to a few of these settings a few different ways. If we tap into, so we'll start off driving convenience, smart cruise control. So the majority of trim levels of the Niro are strictly going to be smart or adaptive cruise control. You can toggle some reaction speed options on here too if you'd like to. So if you want it to accelerate faster, slower, etc. There's highway drive assist available as an option too, and then your highway speed change. With the smart cruise control system, it's going to be an adaptive cruise. So you set it at 80. If the car in front of you slows down, yours will brake. They change lanes, you change lanes. It's going to pick you back up to your previously set speed. So that is the only option that's available there. Speed limit options. So if you wanted to, you could get warnings if you're going a little bit too fast. There are some different warning options. So if you start to veer over into another lane without signaling, or there's some other driving assistance option, so you're backing up, getting close to an obstacle, it can actually vibrate the steering wheel, almost as if you're running over rumble pavement or there's something wrong with your alignment. There's not, it's just that there's something going on. You can toggle that off. Do you want to get safety priority, things like that? So as you're backing up, things like that, it's going to lower your audio volume if there's music playing in order for you to hear what's going on. With driver attention warning, you've got leading vehicle departure. So if you come down to a complete stop, the car in front of you starts driving and you haven't started driving, you'll get a little message in the cluster screen telling you that the leading vehicle has started driving away. And then you've got some other basics here. So forward safety, you can toggle all of these safety settings off if you want to. I don't know why you'd want to toggle them off because they're useful. There's a blind spot safety system. So if somebody enters the blind spot on either side, it's going to highlight in your side view mirror there, letting you know. There's exit safety, again, same thing. You could disable all of these settings if you'd like to. Your cross traffic safety, so as you go to back up, if there's somebody coming perpendicular, so from the left or the right side, it's going to let you know of a potential collision, and then you can adjust that camera setting. So do you want to get your parking guidelines there, your extended rear view, so if you are in reverse, your camera's going, you go to drive, it's going to keep that rear view camera on for a few seconds. Then you could adjust out the brightness, the contrast levels, and things like that for that camera. We've pretty much got all that done. Yeah, so you can get it as a list view here, or you can dive in to each of these available settings if you'd like. Eco Vehicle has some neat options. So there's smart regeneration. So it's essentially going to be regenerative braking based off of the distance from the car in front of you. Let's see, nothing else exciting there. Different options for the brightness. So you can adjust the brightness of the display here if you'd like, so brighter or darker. There's an available blue light filter too. So you could probably, you might be able to, you could just make it out way more visible at nighttime, but what that's going to do is remove some of the blue light from the vehicle to make it easier for your eyes. You can have it automatically come on or schedule to come on. There's some camera settings, which we've already seen. You can reset your fuel economy a few different ways. So after you start the vehicle up, after you refuel, or manually adjust. Content selection, do you want to get an icy road warning? Useful for when it's a little bit cold outside. You can get a welcome sound when you turn the vehicle on. And then there are a few different options for your tachometer display. So what do you want showing up there? So when you look at the cluster screen, so you've got your tachometer display there. So you've got your traditional mode, eco, etc. So you could kind of adjust this out. Into your climate, which we've already seen, defog, defrost. There are some light options. There is ambient light available inside of the ride. So you've got different color schemes that are available. It does look pretty neat. You can link it to your drive mode. So it's going to go red in sport mode. You can dim it in darkness as well. Turn signal by default is going to be 3. So you can have it as a default 1, 3, 5, or 7. You can get a welcome light on the side view mirror as you approach. There are some basic door options. So when do you want the doors to automatically lock or unlock? You can 2-press unlock using the fob. You can turn the power liftgate off completely. So if you just wanted to manually open it, you could. You can change how fast or slow it opens. You can select different heights too. So if you wanted to open it up to different levels, full open, etc., or you could set your own unique height, and that's just by pushing and holding the button along the liftgate door. There's also your smart liftgate, which means that you can use the key fob in order to open up the trunk without actually touching it. And then there's also remote window control. So let's hop outside and I'll show you how these work. Using the fob is simple. So to remote start, push the lock button and then push and hold that circle button in the back. There, push and hold. You can see there, we are now remote started inside of the ride. In order to cancel the remote start, just push and hold that circle button again, and remote start is now canceled. Now you could use the button there in order to be able to open up the liftgate if you want to. There's also the smart trunk feature. So as long as you've got the key fob on you, vehicle's locked, you can walk away, walk up towards the back end, and it'll pop open. It's pretty neat. And there's one neat key fob trick that you can do inside of the ride, and that's rolling the windows down. In order to do it, you're just going to push and hold the unlock button on the fob. So it's just push and hang on, and watch this. Window down, you can release in order to pause, push and hold again. That's going to continue the process. I love that feature. Remote window control would be good if it was all windows and back up, but at least you can roll down one of the windows to air things out. There are some convenient settings, rear occupant alert. So if you've opened up the second row doors, you go to turn the vehicle off. It's going to remind you to check the back seats, make sure you didn't forget somebody. You've got the wireless charge pad available there. So if you've got it, that's there. You can toggle it off. Auto wiper run in reverse. So if you've got your windshield wipers going, you throw yourself into reverse, it'll turn on that rear wiper for you too. You've got some navigation settings here too. Your vehicle speed, you can show that on the map. You can adjust out your fuel prices. There are some guidance options. So did you want to avoid things on the route? So ferries, toll roads, carpool lanes, things like that. You can get different alerts. Nothing exciting there. Maps, you can change out the mode. So if you wanted to be in 2D, 3D, auto scale means it zooms in and out as necessary. You can change up the color and as well, so the theme. So you've got different views that are available. So if you like something nice and bright, you've got the flexibility of adjusting that out. Your Star Trek-y symbol, you can adjust that out too. So if you want to be a red, blue, green, etc. Simple. There's some map features too. Nothing exciting. With your previous destinations, do you want to automatically save them? If you have this deselected, when you turn the vehicle off, back on, it's going to remove all of your destinations that you've gone to. And then GPS information. So that shows you exactly where you're located in the world. There are some sound settings available here. So you've got your start at volume limiter. So if the audio is cranked, you turn the vehicle off, it's going to limit the volume so that it's not cranked for you. You can adjust the position. So do you want it driver focused, rear focused, etc. Hitting the center, you could then do a fine, balance, and fade this way if you'd like, or bring it back to center again. You can adjust your treble, mid-range, and bass. What I found historically in the Niro lineup, something like this tends to work well. But what I'd recommend here is listen to one of your favorite songs, and while that's playing, adjust this out. You can adjust some guidance volumes, radio noise, nothing exciting there, driving assistant features, which we've already seen these options, and then connected device sounds. You've got your user profile information, so you can change out user profiles. There's voice recognition too. So reduce the number of prompts is very beneficial. So if we, 94.9 FM. So if we change radio stations, it just does it. It doesn't tell you that it's going to do it. So I recommend making sure that one is enabled. Screen layout options are available here. So we've already seen the cluster options. Screensavers available here too. So you toggle the display off. Do you want nothing showing up? Do you want a digital clock showing up? Or do you want an analog instead? You can enable split screen options too. So if that's available, what do you want showing up? Obviously, if this wasn't the plugin, that wouldn't be there. If you didn't have navigation, that wouldn't show up. But you can adjust this out. So where these come into play, if we're in the map, tapping here, you've got your little split screen there. So it's which information is showing up inside of that part of the split screen. And we've got display options, which we've already seen. There are a few unique buttons that are available inside of the ride. So you've got your custom navigation button. This is going to be this one here. So if you weren't on this screen, it wouldn't show up. So you have to be on this option for all of your menu. What does this button do? Does it do nothing? Does it toggle the display off, etc.? You've got your up-down button there. So what does this little feller do? And then your volume tuning knob down the middle. So you could actually swap these out. So as a default, that's going to be for volume. That's going to be for tuning, but you can do it so that that's tuning and that's volume. Kia Connect is there, and then there are a series of general settings too. You can do an update over USB. You've got some basic storage info. You can adjust the date and time by diving into the settings or just tapping the date and time along the top. This is grayed out because you're in the auto mode. So if you deselect, you could then go through and adjust the date and time if you'd like to. Then do you prefer the 12 versus 24-hour mode? So if you prefer that military time, you can change it out that way. You can adjust out your language. Do you want to be in English, French, Spanish, or Korean? Adjust your keyboard type and then your measurement units. So do you want to be in either miles or kilometers? It's one of the nice things about it being a fully digital cluster is that it adjusts everything out. You can adjust it whether you're in Celsius or Fahrenheit. So if we're in climate along the bottom, which way do you want it showing down there? And then kilometers, liters per 100, that's going to be dynamic based off of whether you're in kilometers or miles. And then how do you want your tire pressure to be measured? With your media options, when you turn the vehicle on, do you want your media to be turned off? You can do a reset. You could do a reset of just the profile or reset all. If you reset all, that's going to get rid of everything. All of the settings, all the phones that you've connected, if you've got navigation routes that you've saved and things like that. So if the screen's giving you problems, so let's say Apple CarPlay's not working, Android Auto's not working, things like that, you could do a full factory reset. That's the last thing you want to do. What you want to try first, grab a paper clip. And from there, right next to the power button, you'll see this tiny little hole. You're just going to grab that paper clip and insert. That flips the screen off. And what we're doing is entering a soft reboot cycle. So if you've ever run into problems, like I said, Apple CarPlay is not working, Android Auto's not working, etc., that should solve the majority of problems that you're facing. If that doesn't work, you want to try a full factory reset. If that doesn't work, then you're going to have to take it into your Kia dealership. And then underneath the screen, you've got a few power points. You've got a 12 volt down there, your USB device down there too. So that's USB type A, USB-C. The USB-C is going to strictly be for charging. That's for data transfer. So if you wanted to use Android Auto Apple CarPlay with a type C, you just have to get a little adapter or replace the cable. There's the option for a wireless charge pad. You've got your push to start, at least heated seats inside of the ride with the option for ventilated in some trims. You've got your heated steering wheel button, auto hold. So with the auto hold setting turned on, if you are in drive, you've come down to a complete stop, you take your foot off the brake, the car is not going to move. Inside of the plug-in hybrid, there's an EV specific option. So if you've got enough battery power, you can go just in EV mode. There's an electronic parking brake. You're going to pull up in order to be able to set the brake. You're going to tap the brake and push down in order to turn it off. Along the outside there's the reverse sensing system, so you can toggle off the beeping. You've also got a button for your camera that you can show or hide. And then with this little rotary shifter, I know people aren't crazy about it, but if you're outside of park, so if you're in reverse, neutral, or drive, if you turn the vehicle off, that's actually going to shift you right back into park automatically. You've got some cup holders built right in there. Top of that, you've got a little storage. Ooh, detachable box. That's useful. So you've got that available as an option too. If you need some more space. And there you've got this glossy highlight. So gloss all over the place there. You could look at a screen protector if you need that as an option. Glove box here is non-lockable. Up overhead, you're going to have an auto-dimming rear view mirror in some trims, manual in others. SOS and tow mode just in case. And then you're going to find a sunroof in the majority of trim levels of this ride. That just opens things up. Oh, so nicely. Not full panoramic, but still pretty nice at the same time. From there, you've got your visor. There's a little ticket receipt holder there. Vanity mirror that has a light up over top. And then this little feller stretches out. Oh yeah, look at that, blocking all of the sun. That's gonna be hitting your face. But visibility perspective is pretty good here. You're not gonna really run into many issues with that pillar there. Nice little setup. I like it. All right, and let's go back to that second row. So I've got the driver's seat set up for myself. Ooh, being 6 feet tall. Oop. And with the driver's seat set up this way, I've got some knee space, I've got some foot space, and up overhead, with me sitting fully upright, I've got a boatload of space, so almost the same as I had in the first row. So I'm looking at 3.5, almost 4 inches of space there. So 6'3", you might be able to sit inside of the second row. The big thing, I guess, would be depending on how tall the driver is, because I've got just enough knee room being 6 feet tall. Feature-wise back here, you've got some power points that are built right into the seat along the driver passenger side. You've got some basic HVAC controls there too. Nothing down low. There's map pockets behind both the driver and the passenger side. Assist handle there with some, wait, cabin lights. Hello, Bueller. Oh, derp. With some cabin lights there too. And then there's an assist handle with a hook along the driver's side. You've got cup holders built right into the seat. And then if you need them, anchor points with top tethers in behind the seat. But surprisingly spacious back here, comfortable on top of that. And then technology-wise in the back, in the majority of trim levels, you're going to find the reverse park sensing system. There's always going to be a backup camera, and then there's the rear wiper too. Getting into the trunk of the Niro can be done a boatload of ways. There's a button to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You can use the key fob to do it. Just underneath the Kia badge to the right side of the backup camera, there's a button there that you can push. And then the majority of trims also have a smart liftgate feature. So as long as the feature is enabled and you've got the key fob on you, all you're gonna do is walk up towards the back end of the vehicle. There's kind of like this little sweet spot. in order to pop that liftgate open. Like I said, there is that little sweet spot that you've got to hit in order for that to work. But I love the feature. I think it's better than the foot activated because if the sensors are covered in snow, ice, mud, etc., it won't open up. But this will open up once you kind of hit that sweet spot. And then looking at the features of the trunk, there's nothing off to the left-hand side. Along the right-hand side, there's a little cubby that you can open up. And that is going to be access for the battery. There's a little storage tray in the back here, and lifting that up, you're going to find a tire mobility kit. So there's no mini spare tire inside of this ride. So if you ever puncture a tire, you can try to seal it yourself. So the goop is there, and then there's also the inflator kit. But you do also have access to Kia roadside assistance. And that's good for things like tire changing, fuel delivery, lockout, winching services, and a few other things. It's just one of the added benefits of being a Kia owner. Obviously, if you pop a tire, you're kind of SOL, so if you're going on a road trip, it might be worth it to invest in a mini donut yourself, but outside of that, that inflator kit's there. And then since this is the plug-in hybrid, there's also the 20-foot charge cable, which you'll also find inside of the electric version of the ride. And folding down the second row seats is a manual process. If you can't reach it from the trunk, like I don't know why you wouldn't be able to, but you can open it up from the second row. But from the trunk here, there's a button along the top you're gonna push, and push the seat down. And it's a fairly flat fold. There's a great amount of space that you're going to find inside of this ride. And then the cargo measurements that you're looking at, the ones specifically behind the first row, go from right where that trunk door would close to just in behind the little armrest between the first row seats. So with the driver's seat, passenger seat, where forwards or backwards a little bit, you gain or lose a little bit of extra space, but solid amount of space inside of this trunk. It's nice. And one thing about the liftgate is that you've got the option of setting a unique height. This one's actually a little bit lower, so you can raise or lower it to whatever height you'd like to. And then there's a button on the outside there. You'd use that in order to close it, but if you push and hold it for a few seconds, you've got that double beep and it's gonna lock into that place too. It's a pretty useful setting. And then to close, just button push. Filling up fuel inside of the Niro is done just along the driver's side. And then since we're looking at a hybrid, the fuel door is actually locked, and that's just got to do with depressurization. So along the first row, there's a button there that you're gonna push in order to be able to unlock. And it is a capped system. If you're worried about fuel theft, you could get a locker there too. When it comes down to fuel quality, regular 87 octane is all you need to use inside of this ride. It doesn't matter which version of the vehicle that you're in. I mean, obviously the electric you're plugging in, but the hybrid and then the plug-in hybrid, regular 87 is all you need, so just regular fuel. The hybrid is going to get good fuel economy. The plug-in hybrid is going to get even better, especially since it's got the electric driving side of things too, because as long as the electric battery is fully charged up, you've got an EV specific mode. So you'd be able to keep yourself in EV driving the majority of the time, which means that you could be saving a boatload of cash by using electric over gas. Obviously, if you're looking for the electric, that is available as an option, but I do think that the plug-in version is kind of the sweet spot, because you get 55 kilometers or 34 miles of fully electric range with that 1.6 liter engine as a backup, just in case you need it. But if you're the type of person to granny drive it, not gun it as you go, you'll get great economy inside of this ride. And that was everything you needed to know about the Kia Niro. You can find all of the build details for this one down in the description, along with links off to Durham Kia and Kia Canada and USA. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone if you think they might find it helpful. And until I see you next time, take care.